you ever said yes to something you really wanted to say no to, and then spend the rest of the day regretting it? Maybe you were tired, maybe you didn't have the money, maybe you simply didn't want to do it, but instead of saying no, you said, "Okay, I'll do it." And afterwards, you felt frustrated with yourself. If this sounds familiar, you may not have a problem with saying no. You may have a problem with feeling guilty for putting yourself first. And today, we're going to talk about how to change that. Welcome to Thekla Inspires. Today, we're talking about something that many people struggle with: how to say no without feeling like a bad person. Saying no doesn't mean you're selfish. It doesn't mean you don't care. And it doesn't mean you're a bad friend, spouse, parent, sibling, or colleague. Sometimes, saying no simply means, I understand your need, but I also need to consider mine. So let's talk about 5 things that can help you become more comfortable with saying no. 1. You don't have to explain everything. The first thing you need to understand is this: you don't owe everyone a long explanation for every no. Sometimes we feel that our no isn't acceptable unless we give 10 different reasons. I'm sorry, I would have helped, but I really wanted to, but maybe next time, because. And before you know it, you've written an entire essay explaining why you couldn't do something. You don't always have to. You can simply say, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do that. Or, thank you for asking, but I can't commit to that right now. That's enough. Of course, there are situations where an explanation is appropriate. But remember, an explanation can be a kindness. It doesn't have to be a defense. You don't need to convince someone that your boundary is valid. 2. Expect the guilt. Here's something important. When you're used to saying yes to everyone, your first few no's may feel uncomfortable. You might feel guilty. You might wonder, did I hurt their feelings? Will they think I'm selfish? What if they're angry with me? That discomfort doesn't necessarily mean you've done something wrong. Sometimes, it simply means you're doing something new. Think about it. If you've spent years putting everyone else first, suddenly choosing yourself can feel strange. So don't immediately interpret guilt as a sign that you should change your decision. Sometimes you need to tell yourself, I feel guilty, but I haven't done anything wrong. You can feel uncomfortable and still keep your boundary. 3. Stop making everyone's disappointment your responsibility. This one can be difficult. You are not responsible for making sure everyone is happy with your decisions. Someone can be disappointed by your answer, and you can still have made the right decision. Someone can say, I thought you would help me. And you can respond, I understand. Unfortunately, I'm not able to help this time. You don't have to panic. You don't have to immediately change your answer. And you don't have to abandon your needs simply because someone is disappointed. Other people's emotions are real, but they are not always yours to fix. 4. Give yourself permission to say no. Sometimes the person we need permission from isn't our friend. It isn't our family. It isn't our partner. It's ourselves. Give yourself permission to say, I don't have the capacity for this. I don't want to do this. This doesn't work for me. I need some time for myself. I can't afford that right now. I have other priorities. Notice something: none of those statements require you to attack anyone. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can love people and still say no. You can be generous and still have limits. And most importantly, you can be a good person without being available to everyone all the time. 5. Practice with small NOS. If saying no feels extremely difficult, don't start with the biggest boundary of your life. Start small. Someone asks you to do something you genuinely don't have time for. Instead of automatically saying yes, pause. Take a breath. And say, let me check my schedule first. That little pause gives you space to make a decision instead of responding from guilt. Then practice simple responses. No, I won't be able to. Not this time. I'm unable to commit to that. I appreciate you asking, but I'll have to decline. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You don't become confident at saying no by waiting until you feel completely comfortable. You become comfortable by practicing. So, if you've been struggling with people pleasing, remember these 5 things. You don't have to explain everything. You can expect some discomfort when you start setting boundaries. You are not responsible for everyone's disappointment. You are allowed to choose yourself. And you can start by practicing small, simple numbers. Remember, saying no is not automatically rejection. Sometimes, it's self-respect. Sometimes, it's wisdom. Sometimes, it's protecting your time, your energy, and your priorities. And sometimes, saying no to someone else is finally saying yes to yourself. If this message spoke to you, subscribe to Thekla Inspires for more conversations about self-worth, relationships, personal growth, and becoming the best version of yourself. And remember, you don't have to lose yourself trying to keep everyone else happy.